Well, joining me now is Sky News contributor Kosha Gada. And let's get back to that top story about the Iranian women's soccer team. We mentioned earlier in the show, Donald Trump had praised the Prime Minister for his role in securing the safety of some of these players. But that praise came after Trump had earlier accused Australia of making a terrible mistake by letting these women go back to Iran and implored Albanese to give them asylum. Kosha, do you think the president helped to change Australia's mind here after this reported 40-minute conversation on the phone between the leaders, or had he just not been made aware of the back-channel work that was already in place to help these women?
I think it's a fair assumption to make. I mean, we'll never know the intricacies of the timeline and how much back-channeling was happening that President Trump was or wasn't aware of. But I think if the President of the United States goes on social media and publicly names and shames another world leader, Prime Minister Albanese in this case, and chastising him for not doing more or not doing it more quickly, I'd have to imagine that that had some effect in at least turning up the pressure, the heat, even if maybe that was already in process. And he certainly called global attention to it and amplified the issue on the world stage in a way that only he can.
Yeah, true. And, you know, the language from the government had been really cautious about this issue, and they'd even initially denied, one minister had denied that they could give preferential treatment to these soccer players. So it was a real shift. Donald Trump in the US has now been demanding that Senate Republicans ram his voter ID laws through the upper chamber. In a Truth Social post, another one, he went so far as to say he won't sign other bills until this one is passed. Now, it comes as the US Senate is wrestling with reopening the Department of Homeland Security. It's entered its fourth week of shutdown. A White House official had to clarify to Fox News that Trump wasn't referring to the department when he made his comment about not passing bills. Kosha, what is this whole thing all about?
Yeah, so there's two issues over there that sort of get mixed and they're related. But the issue that Trump is maximizing pressure on is passing the so-called SAVE Act that would mandate proof of citizenship in order for confirming that the person trying to vote is actually a U.S. citizen and therefore has the right to vote. It's an 80-20 issue. There aren't many of those in the country. It's very divided right now. Very, very popular. And even though the Republicans hold the House and the Senate and the White House, they've been really, really slow and dragging their feet to bring this to the floor in the Senate. It has passed the House, and now the Senate needs to bring it to the floor. There's all sorts of machinations and horse trading supposedly going on behind the scenes, and it's just another reminder of how a big faction of the Republican Party is not really that supportive of the Trump agenda, the more establishment wing. They're sort of dragged along kicking and screaming. The Department of Homeland Security issue is separate, where they've been mired in controversy a little bit. The Secretary Noem has been removed from her position. There were those bad events that happened in Minneapolis recently, so they're just trying to use that, the Democrats, I think, to make hay of that situation and sort of hold the funding of that department hostage. But that is separate from the SAVE Act and a few other things that President Trump is putting in there. And he is saying that that is existential. It is fundamental to the country's security and democracy and sovereignty. Get it done. Don't show me any other bill until this is passed.
You'd think it would be fairly straightforward. People have to show their ID if they want to vote. It's one of those issues that seems strange to us here in Australia, where we have compulsory voting and people need to be registered and show their ID. But anyway, a video has gone viral of Congressman Brian Mast questioning a State Department official over Biden-era grants for DEI programs around the world. Take a look as she tries and fails to explain what she means by making a map more gay.
What is queering the map?
So I think we were trying to make the maps more gay.
Literally? How do you make a map more gay?
I mean, especially
or
with
gay
AI,
at all?
Since the age of cartography, we've had pretty good maps, but maybe they weren't gay enough. So I know also, I took critical theory in college. I think sometimes people use queer as a verb. I do understand that the maps that we were trying to make gay were, I think, of Czechia and Slovakia. So maybe those countries asked for it. I doubt it, but I don't know.
Kosha, I mean, this is loopy. Can we just go back to how can a map be gay in the first place?
You and me both, Caroline, are scratching our heads, and millions of other people. I thought for a moment when she referenced her credential and whatever degree she had, I forget what it was, but I was thinking maybe it's like English lit and she's going back to old world English where game and happy and she's trying to make the maps happy. I don't know. I really was at a loss
she said
of what she
queering.
was referring to there. But yes,
that's
and then she, of course, didn't
interpretation.
disappoint and clarified. Yes, it's just an example of the money that was sloshing around for many years, actually even before Biden, but certainly accelerated under Biden. USAID, all these DEI programs all over the world. There's like a gay-friendly Sesame Street episode somewhere in the Middle East, and then Irish dancing that was queer, and now this. And the second story beneath that is not only is this pushing an agenda that nobody wants globally using taxpayer dollars, but also a lot of the NGOs and entities that push that have been enriching themselves in the process with that money. And when you have $37 trillion in debt in a country and then you see this, it really makes people's blood boil.
Understandably. The NYPD has provided an update on these improvised bombs that were hurled outside the New York City mayor's residence, confirming that their belief the two suspects were inspired by ISIS and had planned for an attack deadlier than the Boston Marathon bombing.
Qayyumi said in recorded post-arrest statements that he had watched ISIS propaganda on his phone and that his actions that day were partly inspired by ISIS. Salat made spontaneous statements without being questioned by NYPD officers that were captured on body-worn camera footage. He said, "This isn't a religion that just stands when people talk about the blessed name of the prophet. We take action, as well as, if I didn't do it, someone else will come and do it."
But Kosha, New York Mayor Zoran Mamdani is still trying to link this allegedly Islamist attack to white supremacy.
A protest was held outside Gracie Mansion, where I live with my wife, Rama. Neither of us were home at the time. This was a vile protest rooted in white supremacy entitled Stop the Islamic Takeover of New York City.
Kosha, the mental gymnastics involved here to blame white people after what police say was an ISIS attack is quite remarkable.
It really is. He is twisting himself into a pretzel there, and that won't age well because right now the FBI is widening its probe into these two assailants who are second-generation Americans born and raised in America. Their parents immigrated from Afghanistan and Turkey, and supposedly they had more IEDs built or in the process of being built in their residences. They grew up, by the way, in middle class to upper middle class affluent neighborhoods in Pennsylvania and another jurisdiction, and that's where now the FBI is going. So this story is going to develop more, and that comment of trying to frame it as white supremacy is going to make Mayor Mamdani look pretty foolish. I think obviously he doesn't want to admit the religious undertone there or the connective tissue, given, that's obviously his background and what he ran on. If he were smart, which I think he is, I don't think he's dumb, he's actually very savvy politically, he probably would have been better off going with an argument that, oh, look, this is blowback from the Iran war, which is one of many things that, people who are not happy with the war, because it remains very controversial, cite. He would have been better going in that direction rather than trying to brand it as white supremacy and looking like a fool, which is what he does.
Yeah, it's very strange. I mean, it's confusing to me how he even makes that link. But